Friends, imagine living in an ordinary apartment building, never realizing the true horror hidden behind one of those doors. The true crime story I'm going to share with you was actually found when I was searching for a movie one night and came across the title, No Tears in Hell. What caught my attention was the fact that it claimed to be based on a true story. And honestly, once I started digging into the case behind it, I knew I had to share this with my listeners. So today, we're diving into the terrifying case of Alexander Spesivtsev. He is a Russian serial killer who is known as the Siberian Ripper, a man whose crimes shocked even the most seasoned investigators. And behind the walls of his apartment in the city of Novokuzhnik, a nightmare was unfolding. One so disturbing that it still haunts Russia to this day. This is Cold-Blooded Serial, and I am your host and true crime bestie, Tika. Let's dive in. Alexander Spesivtsev was born on March 1st, 1970, and was the second child in his family after his older sister, Nadezhda. Their father, Nikolai, loved alcohol and beautiful women, and made no secret of his infidelities to his wife, Ludmila, who finally decided to divorce him when Alex was 15. By then, the drunken Nikolai had already made life miserable for his family because he was also abusive. Ludmila always felt a special love and compassion for her son Alex because he was underweight when he was born and later grew up sickly despite being born on time. And friends, Ludmila was so overprotective to the point where her son slept in her bed until he was 12 years old. As Alex continued to age, Ludmila took the saying, "I'd do anything for my kid," to another level. And friends, I know most parents say that they do anything for their kids. I'm one of them, but like you, I have a limit. And don't say, "No, Tika, I'd really do anything for my kids." Because listen, just hear me out. I have to believe that you would not do what Alex's mom did. Alex's mom took her maternal devotion to terrifying extremes. Anyways, life changed for Alex and his mom once his alcoholic father left the family, and apparently the divorce created a void in both mother and son. This void also created an unimaginable bond between mother and son. Alex was not a very sociable kid, and instead of making friends, he kept to himself, but was prone to mischief. And his mom was just like, "Hey, he's just a boy being a boy, you know?" And as he continued to grow with a lack of discipline from his mother, his antics were felt most by their neighbors. When Alex became obsessed with Hitler, he took his obsession to such extremes where he started covering the walls in the apartment building with swastikas, not just in his apartment home, like in the hallways, in the elevators, wherever he can draw a swastika on a wall, you better believe Alex was going to do that. And if that wasn't enough, he also began putting matches in key locks. And it didn't say if he actually set fire to the matches, but still, like, you putting a match in a key lock is now preventing the person with the key from entering whichever room they need to enter into. So it's very inconvenient. He also broke mailboxes, he burned doorbells, and he also burned elevator buttons. Neighbors shared with authorities that Alex only entered the elevator to vandalize it. And once he was done vandalizing the elevator, he would walk up the stairs to the 9th floor where his apartment was. They said that his mother and his sister also never used the elevator. They only used the stairs. And honestly, I probably would have looked at that like, what did your evil son do to the elevator while you guys are always taking the stairs? You know, like, should I be worried too? Should I be more cautious? Because 9 floors up, that's a lot of floors. of course, the neighbors are tired of Alex vandalizing everything, destroying things, and just being a menace in their apartment building. So they decide to complain to Ludmila about her son. Ludmila was like, no, you're lying about my son. My son is an angel. And she got so mad that she even spit in the faces of anyone who had something negative to say about Alex. Yeah, Ludmila is a problem. Like, she doesn't even realize how is she in such denial that she doesn't even realize that her son is a psycho and that she is actually a terrible mom, because you can't just let your kid go around doing whatever it is that they want to do. You have to say no sometimes. There has to be some type of consequence for their actions. But not in Ludmila's eyes. She's like, no, my son is perfect. He's my perfect little angel. After that, the neighbors had nothing to do with any of them, and he was eventually sent to a school for juvenile delinquents for stealing the master key of a school. And just like always, his mom was like, listen, you have to excuse his behavior. He didn't mean it. It was an accident. It will not happen again. He is really a good kid at heart. And she completely denied the fact that her son was troublesome. He's a little more than troublesome at this point. I don't know how she did this, but she managed to convince the school administration to give her son another chance, a chance to improve. And the school was like, all right, Ludmila, we'll give your son another chance. And that's all I found about his childhood. But, his mom was actually fired from one of the schools in the city of Novokuznetsk as a custodian when there was suddenly a major shortage of soap, light bulbs, and brooms. Yeah, I guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, right? Well, Ludmila's daughter, Nadezhda, was actually able to get her mom another job. And this time, it was at the court where she worked as an assistant to a blind lawyer. This is when Ludmila's fascination with death began. She began bringing home volumes of criminal files, regularly exposing her young son to gruesome images of corpses and images of dismembered victims. I don't know why she thought that was appropriate, and I don't know if that actually triggered something inside of him to make him become the vile person that he ends up becoming. The contents of the files intrigued Alexander so much that he focused more on studying the files than his actual schooling. And in 1988, at the age of 18, he dropped out of high school and began working part-time as a small appliance repairman. And also in that same year, he decided to join the army. However, he never served in the army because during his medical examination, they discovered that Alex had some serious mental health issues. So, instead of being sent to a military unit, Alex was sent to a psychiatric hospital. But after a brief period of treatment, he was then released and sent back home. And then, in 1991, 21-year-old Alex met 17-year-old Yevgenia Guselnikova, and they began dating. His mother supported her son's relationship and was like, you know what, son? I'm going to go move in with your sister. You stay here because this is a really good girl that you have, and I see wedding bells in the future. However, things didn't last long because at some point, she started to see Alex for the psycho that he is. And he started picking on her and starting arguments with her for little things. It got so bad that he ended up beating Yevgenia so badly that she was hospitalized with a head injury. Apparently, that wasn't bad enough for Alex because he then went to Yevgenia's hospital room and attacked her again. But luckily, the nurses arrived just in time to save her from any further injury. After this, Yevgenia decided to cut off all contact with Alex and start a new life. But the psycho was like, no, Yevgenia. Once my girlfriend, always my girlfriend. And he somehow tricked her into coming to his apartment Prior to going to his apartment, that was the last time that anyone ever saw Yevgenia alive again. He loses his mind and ends up holding her hostage in his apartment, torturing her for a month, sexually assaulting her for a month. And to drown out her screams, he played rock music extremely loudly. The neighbors had no idea what was going on in his apartment because all they heard was the rock and roll music. And then, in a way, he murdered her because she ends up dying in his apartment from sepsis. And if you don't know, sepsis is when an infection or a bacteria enters the bloodstream. So it definitely requires immediate hospitalization. Friends, this next part is going to piss you off a little bit because it took a full month for Yevgenia's parents to finally contact the police to notify them that their daughter was missing. They told officers, "Hey, I thought she was with her future husband," which the future husband that they thought she was with is Alex. Why the heck would you let your daughter go back to Alex after he beat her so bad that she had head injuries? Why wouldn't you be like, "Listen, daughter, you need to find you a new man. Maybe stay single for a little bit. You are young. Okay, there's no rush." But no, her parents were cool with her going to see this psychopath again. I don't get it. So shortly after they reported her disappearance, the police did go to Alex's apartment. They ended up having to break down his door, and they found poor Yevgenia's battered, deceased body laying in bed next to Alex, who was asleep. Yeah, friends, after this, he should have been locked up for the rest of his life. All the signs that you're dealing with a straight up lunatic. From the time he was a little boy to, I guess, middle school and high school age, drawing swastikas everywhere that he can and, just being the worst pranker ever and stealing things and just being a little jerk. All of those signs should have been signs that he was not going to grow up to be a decent human being. But then, after he put Yevgenia in the hospital, he should have been arrested. But now that she's dead, he shouldn't have ever seen the light of day again. During her autopsy, forensic experts determined that she died of sepsis. During his interrogation, Alex denied abusing his fiancée or starving her. He claimed to have devoted his time to care for Yevgenia, who was ill and refusing to eat. And of course, his mom, Ludmila, was there to support her son's versions of events. Ludmila was so outraged by the accusations that she decided, this bitch is crazy, okay? Excuse my language. She decided to throw stones at one of the windows of the local prosecutor's office. Lady, you and your son are the problem. What part of this are you not seeing or understanding? After the interrogation, the authorities were like, okay, this dude is crazy. Let's send him to a psychiatric hospital again. And before you're okay, that's good because, maybe he needs psychiatric help. Which, not maybe, he definitely does. But friends, Yevgenia was only 17 years old. She did not deserve to have her life cut short because she fell for the wrong guy. Because she didn't have parents to be like, no, I forbid you from going to see this psycho again. And because Alex didn't have any type of any soul, any type of compassion for human life. And Alex didn't have a mom to teach him right from wrong. Poor Yevgenia's life was cut short. And poor Yevgenia also didn't receive any justice because just 3 years after his treatment, the psychiatric hospital deemed that Alex was harmless to society and was free to go. That's not justice at all. So now, Alex is free. Alex is free to walk around the city of Novokuzhnsk. I don't know why they thought he was ready to be released back into society. Also, the same year that he was released, he was like, listen, look around. Look at all of these homeless children and teens on the street. It is disgusting. I must do something. So you're probably like, what did Alex do? Like, how is he going to help these children and teenagers that are homeless on the street? What him and his mom decided to do was to lure victims back to their apartment. Kids chosen at random. Once they closed the apartment door, Alex would torture them, kill them, and occasionally consume portions of their remains. In late February 1996, Alex met 20-year-old Elena Trunova, a kindergarten teacher, and the two of them began talking, and, everything was going good. So she's like, yeah, I'll go to your apartment with you. Per Alex, once they got there, he began complaining to Elena about his genital piercing and the problems he's been having with it. He says that she laughed, and this caused him to lose his temper. After tormenting her, he killed and dismembered Elena. And Ludmila always has his back. She was there to dispose of the remains. She carried them to a vacant lot in the middle of the night and buried them. A month later, his mom returned to the vacant lot with buckets containing the body parts of a third girl who her lunatic son had lured to his apartment. In April of that same year, 1996, the psychopath noticed a group of 11-year-olds to 13-year-olds loitering around the construction site of a city department store. He approached them, offered them a cigarette, and then began urging them to join them in robbing an apartment. The preteens thought this offer sounded exciting, and they followed this cool older guy. Of course, they weren't going to rob anyone. Alex brought them back to his apartment. And once they were in there, he locked the door and ordered the kids into his bedroom. As soon as they entered the room, the maniac pulls out a knife and kills each teenager one by one. He then piled their bodies in a corner, covered them with a rag, and waited for good old mommy dearest to come dispose of the bodies. Like, lock her up right now. Because what the heck, Ludmila? Like, there hasn't been a time yet where you're like, you know what? This is wrong. These are children, and I am a mother. How would I feel if someone did this to my kid? None of those thoughts came to her head. No thought to call the authorities and be like, listen, my son's an effing psychopath. You need to stop him before he kills anymore. Like, I don't understand. So yeah. Remember earlier when I said that there was some things I wouldn't do for my kids? Yeah, there you go, friends. Yeah, I know. If you're listening, that you're like, yeah, Tika, you're right. But a week after that massacre, Ludmila came to visit her psychotic son again, and in the hallway of his apartment, she stumbled upon 6 decomposing bodies, which, of course, now it's her job to dispose of. So she was like, you know what? I can't bring it back to the burial site. I am going to start throwing these bodies in the Abu River. So in the middle of the night, she would bring buckets to the river to avoid being spotted and would dump any remains into that river. Now, it's May 1996. Alex again goes to a construction site, sees 4 teenage girls nearby. He lured them to his home with the offer of selling soap. Once again, his mother disposed of their bodies because he stabbed the girls to death. But now the mother-son duo are, I guess, living like lower than poverty levels, and they're hungry. So now they begin to eat the remains of their victims, and they also begin to feed their huge Newfoundland dog the remains as well. Ludmila and Alex continued to lure children and teens to Alex's apartment, and in May of 1996, at least 7 more people were killed in his apartment. How is he just getting away with it? Well, all of these kids come from impoverished homes. So the police aren't looking at them because they're like, oh, like you guys are so poor or either homeless. You're not one of our priority cases, you know? So the police don't care. But when too many reports started to come into the police station from relatives of the missing children, they had to now take notice, right? So, unfortunately, they didn't have any leads on who was killing or kidnapping these children. But now they're like, okay, we gotta try to stop whoever this monster is that's doing this. A month later, in June 1996, the entire city of Novokuzhnsk was shocked when human body parts began to surface on the banks of the Aba River. Decomposed heads, arms, legs, torsos were coming to shore. And now law enforcement was like, okay, we definitely have a serial killer operating in our city, but our police station is not equipped to deal with this type of case. We need help. Therefore, they called for the assistance of experienced investigators and detectives, along with the military, who assisted by combing wooded areas, searching in attics, basements, and keeping watch in vacant lots. And friends, let me tell you, Russian authorities were busy during this time in 1996. Because if one serial killer isn't bad enough, there was a second serial killer by the name of Oleg Rykov, who was committing murders in another city and was also suspected of being involved in Alexander's crimes. However, after Oleg's arrest, it was discovered that he had never traveled outside of the city of Tolyatti. Now, whether or not they continued to hold him knowing that he was a killer, I don't know. But, friends, you better believe I'm going to do an episode on this Oleg Rykov because, what in the world? So, anyways, expect an episode on him in the near future. Now, friends, if the police would have investigated when one of Alex's neighbors continuously complained to them about the putrid stench of decay and deafening rock music coming from his apartment, they may have been able to stop him sooner. But no, the police ignored the neighbor's complaints and was like, listen, your neighbor is just dirty, okay? This is not a police issue. It's more of a lack of cleanliness issue, and it's a civil problem. And nothing was ever done. So the mother-son duo continued to lure victims to Alex's apartment, despite their city now being overrun with police. And from June 1996 to the end of August 1996, the maniac killed 4 young girls between the ages of 12 to 15, 2 women, and 1 35-year-old man. Yeah, he is just serial killing left and right. This next part is about his last victims. On September 24th, 1996, 15-year-old Olya Galtaseva went out to purchase batteries with her 2 13-year-old friends, Anastasia Berneva and Yevgenia Bereshkina. As they were leaving the store, the 3 friends encountered a small, gray-haired older woman carrying several shopping bags. And this older woman asked if the girls would be so kind to assist a fragile old lady with her bags. They obliged and assisted Ludmila back to their predator's apartment and rang the doorbell. Alex opened the door with his enormous dog standing next to him. I'm sure now the girls are like, oh my God, what did we just walk into? Once inside, he sexually assaulted the girls and he beat them. He also used his vicious dog to scare the girls. Alex killed one of the 13-year-old girls and forced her 2 friends to cut her up into pieces in his bathtub. And afterwards, Alex's mom cooked soup with her body parts for dinner and forced the 2 live friends to eat the soup. And friends, Alex's sister, Nadezhda, was in the apartment while this horrific crime was taking place. And she never came to the aid of these young teenage girls. I don't know if she was scared of her brother or what, but there were times where she could have left. Like when she's going to work, instead of making that turn to go to her job, she could have found a way to the police station and be like, listen, you need to go to my brother's apartment and see what's going on in there and stop him because he is on a killing rampage. He's just killing everybody and he's even eating people. Like he needs to be stopped. So I don't want her to be like, oh no, I was scared so I didn't do anything. You had plenty of opportunities to go to the authorities and let it be known who Alex was. So, finally, on October 24th, 1996, exactly 1 month later, Alex's world comes crashing down. The horrific crimes of this evil, psychotic, sick mother-son duo were finally uncovered when residents in his apartment building called plumbers due to a damaged pipe. The plumbers went around the different apartments and was like, okay, listen, I think it's coming from this apartment on the 9th floor. I think this is where the blockage is. And they knocked on his door. Alex refused to let them in, claiming that he was mentally ill and had been locked out by his own mother. The plumber was just like, okay. He left and he came back a second time with the police. Alex tells the police the same story. The police didn't just take that with a grain of salt. They left, and this time when they came back, they broke the door down. The police officers who entered the apartment were stunned. The smell of corpses permeated the place, and the chaos was horrific. This cannibalistic psychopath had kept 82 items of clothing from multiple victims, even down to children's shoes. He had about 40 pieces of jewelry ranging from rings, earrings, and necklaces. And he also took pictures of his victims before they died. Police found Olia Galtseva half dead on the floor of one of the rooms. She had recently been stabbed several times in the stomach with an awl, which is a small pointed tool that's used to pierce or puncture materials like leather, canvas, and wood. So it's extremely sharp. Poor Olia was rushed to the hospital and managed to give a statement and shared that her and her friends were all scared of the dog and didn't want to go into the apartment. But Ludmila, who they call grandmother out of respect because she's old, pushed them inside. His sister, Nadezhda, was also in the apartment at the time, but she quickly left. All three of these girls could have survived had Nadezhda run to the police station instead of going wherever the heck she went. Olia continues. Once they were in his bedroom, they began pleading to be let go, and the monster just paced back and forth. Olia's 13-year-old friend, Anastasia, suggested that her friends hit him with a bottle, but Alex had quickly turned around to give Anastasia a sedative to stop her from screaming. This 13-year-old Anastasia bravely hit Alex with the bottle. Unfortunately, she didn't hit him in the head, only in the shoulder. After that, he went berserk and he stabbed Anastasia several times and ended up strangling her to death. Olia continues. When she stopped moving, he called his mom over and told her to stay with the girls while he washed up. Olia says that her friend Yevgenia begged Ludmila to let them go. But Ludmila, being the evil psycho that she is, only replied that she'd find the keys and that she'd come back to let them go. His mom left the room and didn't come back, even though she was in the same apartment. If Ludmila didn't get life in prison for everything else, for this right here, she definitely deserved it. It was after this that a cycle of unrelenting torture began. Alex beat and raped the girls one after another, and then forced them to butcher their friend's body, which Ludmila ended up carrying out of the apartment because, that's her job, right? To dispose of the remains that they don't want. Olia continues that Alex made soup from Anastasia's body parts, which he fed to his dog, his mom, Olia, and her friend, Yevgenia. On October 18th, he beat Yevgenia so badly that she died, and poor Olia performed CPR on her for a long time, but was unsuccessful. Olia said that Alex left her murdered friend's body untouched for 3 days because he wanted to allow her soul to leave her body. However, after 3 days had passed, he ordered Olia to dismember her body in the bathtub as her and Yevgenia did with Anastasia. Friends, despite the doctor's best efforts, 15-year-old Olia Galtaseva died in the hospital from respiratory distress syndrome, which was a consequence of severe shock to the body from the bodily injuries inflicted. One of Olia's friends from school said this about her: "We saw each other every day. We were in the same group. Olia was a sociable, kind girl, very fair and welcoming. Olia was respected in her class and at school. She never refused anyone who asked for help. Olia was physically well-developed. She played volleyball at school and was involved in tourism. She always stood up for herself." Those are some kind words from a friend. Ludmila only cares about her son and no one else and nothing else. So she tried to discredit Olia's character, and when she was interrogated, she lied for her son and said that she was the one who brought the girls to her son, and that these 3 young 13 and 15-year-old girls, Olia, Anastasia, and Yevgenia, were holding a bottle of alcohol in their hands, and they asked her for a glass, which is how they ended up in this situation. We know that we can't trust anything Ludmila says. And her testimony was refuted by all of the relatives of the 3 young victims. And the same friend who spoke about Olia earlier also said, "No one in our group smokes, drinks alcohol, or does drugs. Olia has never smoked or drunk either. She would never go to a stranger's home. But if someone asked her for help, she would. I know Olia never had a boy she was friends with." All in all, the police found evidence of 19 different murders, enough to try Alexander Spesivtsev for serial murder. I haven't mentioned what they did to Alex when they found Olia on the floor, and the reason for that is because prior to the police knocking down Alex's door, he managed to escape via the fire escape to the roof of the apartment building, and he hid there. He waited until all of the police left before he left his building. And a couple days later, he returned to the apartment building's entrance, and that is when he was detained by the authorities immediately. Soon, Ludmila also ended up in the hands of the police because her psychotic son was like, "Listen, I'm not as loyal as my mom. If I'm going down, she's going down too." And he made it known that his mother was his active accomplice. So over in Russia, I guess they do things a little differently than they do here in America. They were being interrogated together, okay? And Ludmila is denying most of the criminal incidents and saying that her son was lying. Finally, I guess out of frustration, she cries, "I'm responsible for 4 buckets. I've already earned enough for 4 buckets. Aren't you ashamed? Why are you so angry with me? You're shameless. I didn't take it. Your corpse. I don't eat it. Don't, Sasha. Don't bring it to your mother." And yes, I mentioned the name Sasha because that's her nickname for him. During that interrogation, Alex ended up confessing to 19 murders that he committed between February 1996 and September 1996. Initially, the investigative psychiatrist who examined Alex declared him sane, and he faced the death penalty for his crimes. But in 1997, he was sentenced to just 10 years in prison, which is definitely a lenient sentence considering the gravity of his crimes. A year later, in 1998, a new trial began. Investigators had completed collecting the evidence for more than 15 murders committed by this sadistic monster. And in total, the mother-son duo admitted to 19 murders, and in 1999, Alexander was convicted of 4 killings and was sentenced to death. But as luck would have it, before his new trial began, he was sent to a psychiatric hospital, and this time the specialist insisted on committing him to a psychiatric hospital, where he remains to this day. Friends, he is living his best life right now, which pisses me off. He eats well. He has been declared a second-degree disabled person, so therefore he receives a pension of several thousand rubles, which is about $97 US. He does send some of his money to his mom, and he spends the rest on chocolate. Yeah, he deserves an absolutely miserable life, not this. So his mom was only sentenced to 13 years in prison and was released from the women's penitentiary in 2009, which isn't long enough if you ask me. In 2019, Ludmila turned 80 years old, and she constantly writes petitions to various authorities, hoping that her son will one day be released and her family will be reunited. However, this is unlikely to ever happen, because even if specialists declare him as sane, they will only release him to a prison sentence, and this sentence will almost certainly be life. On December 16th, 2024, the Zavadsky District Court of Novokushnik received a claim for moral compensation from the daughter of one of his victims. And every month, Alexander has to make payments to that daughter, who managed to prove that this monster was sane when he killed her mother. And friends, that wraps up the horrifying case of Alexander Spesivtsev, a nightmare hidden behind the walls of an ordinary apartment, where evil went unnoticed for far too long. Cases like this remind us that sometimes the most terrifying monsters don't lurk in dark forests or abandoned buildings. Sometimes they live right next door. Thank you for listening to another episode of Cold-Blooded Serial. Stay safe, stay aware, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.